What?
It's you. Go ahead.
Who are you talking to?
Hey, this is JJ Humphrey. We're on OCP live today. Bobby is sleeping over there. It's time we wake up and we get started, Bob. We got the countdown, and
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, you got to be paying attention, Bob. You got to be paying attention all the time. Did you have something you was going to share with us? I thought you was going to start off maybe a letter.
Yeah, I do have a couple of emails that I have received that I've found interesting. I've got a lot of emails, but these are, I'll just pick these two out. We don't have time to hear all of them.
Sure.
Now things are going so well at DOC, requiring COs to change work days from 5-2 to 4-3. That's 4 on, 3 off. And DOC is so organized, they are requiring COs to stand by their phones on their days off in case they need more officers, requiring COs to come to work on their days off. Mismanagement is the word. DOC is losing officers because of the leadership. They don't know what to do. They don't know who's on first. Yet DOC continues to release information that HARP is doing a great job. I did not mention that the last few days of 2024, this is what I just added this in here. The last few days of 24, we had 3 homicides, possible homicides, and one, what was the word they used? One, well, they found one person dead.
Non-attended, Bob. I bet you what you're talking about is non-attended death.
Yeah, the one in the women's prison.
Yep.
Drugs are rapid in our prisons. Next one. Good morning. Happy New Year. I just read the director's statement on how things have improved for DOC. A month ago or so, I was listening to officers from another facility talking about escapes. One statement made was, well, I hear inmate violence and the drugs are crazy. With Icon, the write-ups, this is not available for everyone to see the director's line because he doesn't want the truth out to the public. And basically, it's down to this one thing. He doesn't like transparency.
Bob, last week when we give the director our end of the year evaluation, I thought that was really good because, they give everybody else evaluation. Nobody evaluates him. So I thought it was really good that we went on there and, when you let out with one of the big things that you thought was transparency, I was kind of like, yeah. But Bob, as we went on and talked about each one of those items, again, it's a huge problem because when we're talking about violence, when we're talking about, retention of officers, when we're talking about all these issues, the biggest problem is that you can't tell whether they're telling the truth. You can't see what they've closed off. Like you said, Icon, that's not us saying it. That's the employees saying it. But what I was surprised, Bob, you already mentioned this a while ago in your statements, but I think our evaluation inspired them to come out with this little, a year.
That's no little thing. That's a lot of suckers, 3 or 4 pages long.
It's multiple pages. I've got it right here. But a year of progress in DOC 2024 accomplishments. Now, Bob, I know they'll never give me and you credit for inspiring them, but I think that we get the credit for inspiring them to come up with such a horrendous report, a proclamation is what I'm going to call it. But Bob, I just wanted to walk down and get your opinion on. So here's the first. They go in saying what a great job they've done and everything. But the first thing that they do, significant reduction in violence. New strategies. Now, what the hell new strategies have they come up with? I'd love that. Hey, Kay, if you've got those, could you send those to us, your new strategies?
They probably got a new strategy, how all these guys going to die in the prison. That there've been so many. How many we had in the last 2 years?
Bob, we've reduced violence, had about 180 die. I went back and looked at this week, just what I could find this week. Bob, I think you mentioned it a while ago. 4 deaths this week. We're going to close out. We had a reduction in violence, but we have 4 deaths in the week that they're claiming the week they put this out, 4 dead and 3 look like homicide. And then, Bob, I'm trying to find out, guess what? They had a bunch of assaults on staff. They had a bunch of just violence and everything else. You can't keep
change the subject real quick, and then you get onto your thing. I heard on the news that this guy, this CO, was in trouble for having sex with these two officers, with two inmates.
Bob, you know,
Is that the one that was videoed? We seen the
that's
video
right.
of them having sex.
And in fact, Fox 23, and so that our listeners are reminded on that Bob, you remember we had the psychologists that worked for him, the doctor psychologist,
Yeah.
come out and say they were covering up rapes. We had a whole hearing to prove that the AG never investigated, that DOC covered this up. We tried to subpoena them. The House wouldn't let us subpoena them. Why in the world? So they don't bring the investigator. So again, here we have all this cover up of rape. Then we get the actual video of this guy actually committing a rape. We watched the whole video. It's unbelievable. I mean, we should have probably charged money for that, you know. But here's the deal.
That's the first time I ever seen anything like
Oh,
that.
golly, Bob, it's unbelievable. But anyways, I mean, there's no question it happened. But now we're finding out that he did this more often than just once. And again, here's the thing. We all know, anybody around this knows that they have PREA problems. I mean, they're having PREAs. They're covering it up. They're not reporting the PREAs so they can get great numbers. They're letting people resign so they don't look like they have rapes there, so that they can keep their numbers up. That's what they do. And that's the transparency issue. Great example of why we need transparency.
Yeah, that's a good director does that. You got to be a good director to do that.
Well, he is pretty. I would say, as far as if you want to give him an A+ on being a shyster, non-transparent type individual, he gets an A+ on that. You know what I mean? So we didn't give him A+ in on anything last week, but I'll give him an A+ on covering up. You know what I mean? So he gets that. But Bob, yeah, I actually got interviewed. Fox. You remember what channel? Maybe it's Channel 4. It may not have been Fox. It may have been Channel 4.
Channel 4.
I think it was Channel 4. Called me on that. Said, "Would
I
you?"
haven't seen him running the story though.
I don't know. I don't know, but they interviewed me on it. They were very aware that it was the same guy, and that it's that there's way more to this than just, hey, the guy got caught. It's happening multiple times. We got a doctor, and by the way, Bob, I do want to say that doctor has went to court, I think, twice now on whistleblower, and has won both time on wrongful them firing her.
Yeah.
She's won both times. And they hire outside counsel, so that what they do is they appeal that when they know they ain't got a case. They appeal that just to take her out deep water, see if they can break her before, and then they turn around and hire $450 to
$1,000 a day.
Yeah, if two came to the last hearing with Luke Pettigrew, two are sitting in there at $500 a day, $1,000 an hour, not a day, an hour. And then they turn in a bunch of paperwork that ain't no good, to my understanding. So they turn in, hey, Judge, we want to submit all of this new evidence. And the judge is like, hold it, we're not retrying the case. You appealed the case. We're looking at, was there something done wrong? So you can take all your new evidence. We're not accepting that if you got some. So how much work at $450 an hour does a pile of evidence cost you? Yeah. So the state has to pay out on that one case. And Bob, I mean, we've got probably 20 some odd plus cases, just OCP, on this same thing. So again, we're looking at millions of dollars probably spent right here, and nobody's saying a word about it.
How does he get the right to have his own attorneys when nobody else does? He's stopped 3 different agencies from having their own attorneys.
If you want to go over and look at right now, just recently, the AG got after Ryan Walters big time for hiring outside counsel. If I'm not mistaken, our good friend Todd Russ, who is now the state treasurer, went after BlackRock. I'd love to have that on my elephant in the room. So he went off after BlackRock, and so he had an attorney, which in this case, on that case, you would probably need a specialized attorney. But guess what? I think the AG got on him for all of that. So how is it that DOC has these little simple, appealing, which they already had 2 times in court? They have a general counsel. I will admit, not a good general counsel, but they have general counsel. nasty little person. She's a nasty little individual. You know, she's very hateful. You remember that hearing we had and how she got hateful in there, Bob? I had to get that gavel. Shut up! Shut up!
Yeah.
I'm not going to say a word. Then
Well, hey, I've got off record. Go ahead and give us your
absolutely. So, anyways, they say significant reduction in violence, and they say including population realignment, stricter Class X misconduct sanctions. Now, I want to stop right there, Bob. So, if I understand right what they're saying, stricter Class X. So when you get these Class X write-ups, guess what they're doing? They're no longer taking some of your time. They're taking all of your time. So guess what? You're keeping people in prison much, much longer. Your prison population is going up. Wonder if y'all ever put a pencil to this, figuring out, maybe that's what's causing our population to grow. And then you're saying you reduce violence, but we just give you the last week you had 3 people murdered. It sounds.
Tell me this. Do you think this is just a flat out lie? We're building safer communities and transforming lives every day.
Yeah, you transforming lives. That's guarantee you. You're killing a bunch of folks. So they're saying that they did all that between 2020, 23, 24. Inmate on inmate assaults with serious injuries reduced 14%. Bob, I call every week. I make my rounds saying, hey, you know what, Bob, I could fill up a dadgum room full of all the reports that I get. I don't report half the stuff. But in October, I did a count. I added up all the counts that I could in October. We had 17 assaults on staff. Now, I've looked in the last week, we had assaults on staff, several of them. So again, if you multiply that times 4 for the December, guess what? You're getting up there again to, at least 12, 13, maybe 17. I don't know because they're not transparent. I can't get it. But Bob, when you see assaults on staff, that is a scream. We're out of control. When you have staff being assaulted, you're out of control. And so again, for them
that's happening almost every day somewhere.
Yeah, when they say we reduced inmate on inmate violence, bull, you ain't even reduced you're having an increase in inmate on staff violence. And let me say this, Bob, I'm getting reports. I don't know about you. I think me and you may have discussed this before, but I'm getting reports that people are having feces thrown on them. That one guy got stabbed. Officers got stabbed in the jaw. Had another one assaulted. That was at Allen Gamble. This other one assaulted, and that they told them, do not report it. Just let it go.
Speaking of Allen Gamble, they keep losing employees. Now, he's saying they're doing so well. They're doing so well. They're losing employees, not just at Allen Gamble, throughout the system, but Allen Gamble especially. They're losing employees, even like lieutenants.
Well, Bob, yeah, that's a section in here. I will skip ahead on that, and it says retention rate among cadets increase. Okay, DOC revamped its correctional cadet academy in May 23, introducing a preliminary style academy, a pre-military style academy, which again, here he goes, wanting to be military, wanting to be all of this. Guess what? He's all show and he's no stay. He's all talk, no action. He's all nothing. So here the emphasizing de-escalation tactics. Boy, you need to re-emphasize that, Director. Try that again. So they're emphasizing de-escalation tactics and reinforcing our mission of transforming lives with compassion and rehabilitation. Bob, let me ask you something. Does this administration seem compassionate, and what are they doing to rehabilitate?
They're not compassionate. They won't help they're the fire person and try to help him be a better person, help him out. They'd rather fire him. What he got? He got 14% drop in serious inmate on inmate assaults.
Yeah, that's what we just covered, Bob.
Right.
14%.
How many have they had then?
Well, golly, they must have had hundreds because, again, they had 180 something people that I can calculate died this year. And again, they had 3 this last week die on homicide, 4, 1 unattended. What's that mean? It's unattended meaning nobody watched you die. Is that what that means? Because, again, if you were murdered and nobody watched you die, is that unintended? If you got a rope around your neck, is that suicide, or did somebody put that rope around your neck? Because it doesn't look like they're investigating any of those. If I kill somebody in DLC, I just put a rope around them. You know, they had 50 stab wounds, but they had a rope around them. It's suicide. You know, it's
well, body-worn cameras deployed statewide for increased safety.
Bob, you're skipping around. Skipping around, you're losing me, son.
No, I'm just reading what I got on here. But hey, I'll let you go ahead. You keep on.
No. Body worn cameras. I'm with you. Body worn cameras. Listen, on body worn cameras, we've talked about this 100 times. I think you're for it. I'm for it. You for it?
Well, I think it's a good idea.
Absolutely. So, director, we're not opposed. We think it's a good idea, but stop lying. Stop lying, saying that when officers get a body cam on them, that all of a sudden 60% reduction in rate. That's what we like to call big, nasty lie. Anybody with any common sense knows that. And a good example that we've given, Bob, if you put a camera on an officer in Oklahoma City, does that have any significant influences on rates, murders? Has none, because those rates of murders aren't occurring in front of that officer. Nobody's going to shoot somebody.
What about improved cadet retention from 37% to 65%?
Yep. So you're skipping on me again, Bob. But here's the deal. Here's what's funny, Bob, on this, what they're saying. And I was reading that a while ago that they're teaching de-escalation, and they have all this care about compassion on officers. Now, Bob, and I want to go back at compassion on officers. Do compassionate people tell you that you can't have a day off? You have to call in every day. If you are called on to come in on your day off, you will come in or we will fire you. Does that sound like compassionate? That don't sound compassionate to me.
There's so many things that's not compassionate. It's ridiculous. They don't care about their employees. They know they've screwed it up, and they're going to put it all onto the employees to work in many hours, working on their day off, required to do that. That doesn't sound like somebody that's compassionate. But he want to use words, but he doesn't want to do the words.
Oh, he has no meaning.
Like, what is it? How's that go? What seems like a good idea is not always a good idea.
Well, here's the deal. I'm all for compassion. I'm all for rehabilitation. My question is, those are big words. What are you doing to be compassionate? Give me one example. So, Bob, when I arrest somebody for public drunk, I got to say, well, you had a red face, you were slurred. See, I describe what it is. When you say we're compassionate, why can't you add something saying, let us show you how we're compassionate. Let us show you the rehab. Guess what? They have a couple of rehabs. What's that called? Cosmetology program. Good program. Why don't you have more of them? You have a couple of programs for VOTEC for technology centers. A couple of them. Why don't you have more of them? What other things? Bob, this is the least amount of rehab programs I've ever witnessed.
They don't have the program. New program supporting substance abuse recovery. Now, substance abuse recovery. Now, what is going to stop substance? What's going to stop the drug from coming into prison? Just tell me, what's your idea of that?
First thing is get a line of defense, get more officers.
That's right.
More officers.
That's right. They have mismanaged it so bad. They're not going to get enough officers in 1 year. It's terrible.
While we're talking about retention, so they come out. You just read it. They said the retention rate among graduates rose to 65%, up from 37%. So here's the deal, Bob. What's 65% of 3? You know what I'm saying? How many officers are we talking about? Now they come on and they say that during 24, they had 253 officers were hired with an 84% retention rate. And I just want to say, I'll believe that when pigs fly. Okay. I don't believe it. I don't believe it, but I want to
Well,
give
if it's
you.
true. Why are they forcing people to come in on their day off?
Well, Bob,
So then they have to come in on their day off.
Bob, let me read an email that you sent. You sent this email to me, okay?
All right.
Let me just read a little portion. Effective immediately. This was written December 31st, okay? So December 31st. I want to look at this little document that me and you are going through that I believe they put out because we give them the evaluation. I believe it's a response. Guess what day it was done?
What day? 31st?
December 31st. So on the same day that they put this magnificent proclamation out, let's see what they were writing the employees. So here's out, and this was at one facility, but my understanding it went to many. Effective immediately due to what? Staff shortages and FMLA. So it is extremely shorthanded. They say this facility, I'm not going to name the facility, is extremely shorthanded. Well, guess what? Every one of them are extremely. This went out.
It could be any prison.
Yeah. Short supervisors and officers will work one of their days off as scheduled or needed for shift coverage. So basically, it ain't saying just one. It's or needed when we call you, you come. All fixed posts will be covered with scheduling officers and supervisors working out of their 3 days off. Bob, I'm not going to read any more. It just goes.
Well, they were forced. They were doing that. The 4 on, 2 off, or 5 on, 2 off.
Right.
Put that on them.
It's 3 on, 4 off, 4 on, 3 off, I think, or something like that. But here's the deal, Bob. That's a great plan. I love that plan.
They don't have enough people to do it, though.
You got to have a full staff to cover that. Anybody knows that you're as shorthanded as they are, guess what? And Bob, I think they did that because they're using the money that they got for overtime, and they're trying to short the overtime. They're telling everybody to go, and we'll just call in a few, and then they're claiming, oh, we're covering fixed posts. Bob, how many times have you been called saying they aren't covering fixed posts, that they're requiring people who are working fixed posts to work double posts? How many times you got that call?
Plenty. Some guys 24 hours straight, JJ. 24 hours straight.
Bob, I got a call.
Does that look like somebody that really cares about their employees?
Well, here's the deal. I got a call on a guy that worked like 3 or 4 days straight. I mean, like several days straight. I'm not going to call the exact hour because then they could go back and get that. But it was more than 36 hours, way more than 36 hours. How would you work a shift like that? You know what I mean? And the thing about it is that's a law violation. They're violating the law when they do that. Who's going to hold them accountable? And again, like you just said, how compassionate are you when that's going on? And what does this do to families, Bob, when you have to work like that? You know what? If you got to be on call, can they require you, Bob? I believe this is a Fair Labor Standard Act violation. I don't think they can require you to be on call if they're not paying you to be on call. I'm not going to be on call.
Phone. They don't take the phones away from them now. They got to do it on their own phone. They got to be by the phone, be ready to come in at the notice.
Bob, I don't think I would tell you this. If it was me and they told me that, I'd say, hey, when pigs fly, I ain't doing that. Because if I'm at my kid's ball game and you call me, I'm not leaving. I'm at my kid's ball game. You know, if I'm at my mom's birthday party, and I'm giving you examples that we've had calls. You remember the lady that her mom had cancer, was dying, and she was on her way to go, and they had told her, no, you are not going to have to work. She goes to drive to the hospital, visit her mom, or maybe her mom was out of the hospital, I forget, but they were having a birthday party, and they told her, you remember that? Because they were going to fire that person, and You know, I
That's compassionate. That's compassionate.
that's the
Yeah. If
compassion.
that's compassionate, what would it do if you was just mean to your employees? If you didn't like them, what would it be like?
Well, Bob, and we're talking about employees. Is it compassionate when 4 people die this week? Is that the compassion you're talking about? What's the
It's not compassionate when you want to have all those drugs in the prison.
and
Why
how
don't
many
we
people
have,
are on
why don't we have dogs?
Well,
Sniff
Bob,
dogs.
they used to have dogs. I mean, when I was in there, they had dogs. They were known, and we have dope dogs, but they had some of the best bloodhounds. And
Well, I
when I
wonder
was
if
in
they
there,
made agreement with these shot callers that they would try to stop the drugs coming in or something. Because man, everybody, this guy, I just talked to a guy that just got out of prison the other day at Walmart, and he said that the drugs was he's never seen it like it is now.
everybody I talked
He's been there 15 years and he's never seen it like it has the last 2 years.
Bob, all you got to do is look at the numbers that they claim are down, which is a big fat lie. You look at the numbers of the ODs, the violence, the stabbings, the assaults on staff, and I'll guarantee you that's a very good indicator that you have a massive drug problem, and inmates are out of control. Because when that's what happens, there's this escalation cycle, and you can watch the cycle, and we're in the cycle. And again, we've been saying we're in that cycle for a long, long time. And them claiming they have more officers when all I continue to hear is officers. Bob, I'm hearing at one time 3 or 4 officers leave. Uh, I think it was Alan Gamble the other day. You may have been telling me that. I forget who told me that they had a person getting ready to leave, and they said that, hey, there's already 3 or 4 people left right in front of them.
Right.
And so again, now here's what's funny, Bob. Let's get this one. Empowering inmates through surveys. Now I hadn't heard of these surveys, Bob, but it's saying they're committed to hearing and valuing the voices of those it serves. Participation in anonymous inmate surveys have increased 23%. So, Bob, if you had one person participating and it went up to 23%, how many would that be, Bob?
I don't know.
It'd be less than 1.5. It'd be a 3/4 of a person. It'd be a quarter person. 1 1/4, I guess, something like that. 2% away from a quarter. That's what I say. They make all these statements. Now they did come with the number, and they said they're up to feedback 5,500 people. Now they only had 25,000 in there, so 5,500. And Bob, they're acting like this is some massive great deal that 5,500, has answered them, and that's up from what it was. So again, we're gathering great feedback. Now I wonder what kind of great feedback. I'm not opposed to it, but if that's what you got to put as your great achievement, that you handed out a few surveys and you're getting some information from some inmates that are less than a quarter of your population, probably. Uh, wow, wow, that's what you got to brag about. That's what I mean. This proclamation is we reduced inmate violence. That's horse crap. We got body worn cameras, which we all applaud, but them claiming that reduces rape by 60% and reduces serious incidents by what was it, 50% or something, 45. Bob, everybody knows that's a lie. Empowering inmates through survey. How is it empowered, Bob? Could you could you tell me how that empowers inmates?
14% drop in serious inmate on inmate assaults.
Yeah, but somebody getting stabbed. Now, Bob, here's the deal. Let's talk to our people. Let's talk to the listeners to show you no transparency. Guess what? They've shut Icon down where you can't see it. They've shut the serious incident reports down where you can't see it. So you just got to take their word. But let's talk about somewhere October, November. Their what do you call her? Their budget person over their budget, goes in, to my understanding, and makes a report to the board that their medical expenses in that went up $2 million. Now, Bob, you're going to claim You're going to claim inmate on inmate violence is down, but our medical expenses went up $2 million. Now, you got to go back and look. Did we have COVID? Did we have an outbreak? What would cause that? Guess what? There's nothing there. So one can deduct that, yes, you're going up because of violence, inmate on inmate violence. Only a moron couldn't see that. So again, that's why we come out, so that people know why we come out so strong, and why we're so adamant with these things is because they say one thing, but the evidence says right the opposite. The evidence.
Here's another thing. Another thing too. The director will not take any questions during his live calls if your name isn't on their anonymous form. So he won't take questions just from anybody on any questions.
So
Really transparent, huh?
yeah, unless we know you on this form, we're not going to take your anonymous. So our anonymous form,
He really cares. He really cares about the officers.
yeah, he don't want to hear from the officers because he shut the Bob. Here's what I believe, and people can say I'm wrong, but I think the director openly admitted. I don't think I know he did this. He openly admitted that he was going to do away with OCP.
Yes, sir.
That's what his intentions was. He did not want anybody looking into his business. He said that. Now, the other thing is he was going to start this video to get all this feedback because he thought, oh, I'll be really cool. I'll get in my little uniform. I get up, do my thing, and everybody will go, oh, director, you're so sweet. Oh, director, you're such an awesome guy, which he does have some around him, do just that bad, pukish. But here's the thing. What he found was he started getting real feedback from the officers who were upset over situations. And guess what he did?
Shut it down.
Turned you off. Employees, he turned you off. I don't want to hear from y'all. All of those issues, we're in our made-believe kingdom up here where we shoot our own floors and we dress up like generals. We're in our made-up kingdom, and we don't want to hear about real issues out there. And we'll make up, oh, we dropped this, we dropped that with no evidence. In fact, the evidence quite honestly, magnificently says opposite. Bob, have you read that other one? Update mission to showcase commitment to rehabilitation and public safety. You keep hearing that rehabilitation. What programs, what rehabilitation? But Bob, let me ask you something. If what you're writing, the year's update, this is what you got to show, is we added some cameras. We added a survey. We added a new mission statement because our old mission statement that we did away with the great mission statement, and we made up a new one that we got. Yeah, so here's the deal. The one we changed lives, they caught so many people made fun of them on that one that they changed the other one.
He does change lives. He pretty much put in the women's prison, he made them a bunch of hookers.
Yeah, he changed lives. 180 of them got changed. They're dead. They're in the graveyard. How many people? I've talked to people who have multiple stabs. You know what I'm saying? Extortion, drugs, suicides. All, guess what, man? He's changed some lives, all right. But what rehabilitative program? Hey, Kay, could you put out a list of the rehabilitative programs y'all got? I would really be interested. I'm being sincere. Put them out. I'd really like to know.
Well, actually, the new programs they're going to have. They need programs.
Oh, I'm all for their programs because guess what? When I was there, we had a lot of programs. We had all kinds of programs.
Oh, he done away with programs because he didn't have the money.
Well, I would say that's more likely true because I think they are broke. A digital mail platform enhances safety and security. Bob, I don't necessarily, I get the ideal behind what they're trying to do on that. But again, one of the things that they've done is made it to where inmates can't get clothes stuff. Inmates can't get property in. Inmates are having to cost more.
Now, I've heard that they can't take clothes from the outside. They have to buy the clothes from the.
Well, Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
in
I'm
prison.
saying. And again, here's the deal, Bob. What I'm being told is they're ordering stuff and it ain't even on there. They don't. You can't buy it out here. You can't get it from out here, but you got to buy it from us, which seems a little hinky, Bob. That seems a little, you know. There's room for corruption when you only can buy through us, and we're making the contracts with who, and again, there's where the transparency needs to be at, and none. So yes, it seems pretty hinky, but here's the deal: what's inmates supposed to do when they can't get any clothes?
Hey, JJ, have you heard anything about Jason Sparks? His top bully? He bullies people around. He's a pretty good sized guy, and that's his top bully. Have you heard anything like that?
I hadn't heard him called a bully. I mean, I've heard a lot of people talk about Sparks in that he doesn't have that he's got as much experience as Harp. I will hold up that I think Sparks at least does have some law enforcement background. So I mean, if you do have law enforcement background, then you have a knowledge of working around offenders. You have a knowledge of how jails work and that kind of thing. So again, he doesn't have any prison experience. What I was told, he has no administrative experience. You know, and again, Bob, here's the problem: under a HARP administration, it's almost like at the Capitol. If you don't do exactly what you're told at the Capitol, then you don't get in the upper echelon. You don't get that. Same
Well,
thing.
I will say this: once I talked to Sparks one time, he was very polite, and right now I'm just going by what I'm hearing. I've heard
Yeah.
it from a number of people who have said that, and that's just, I guess you could say, it's their opinion and my opinion. But when you hear something like that from different parts of the country or different parts of the state, different prisons, and you hear the same thing over and over in another prison, it kind of makes it pretty actual.
Yeah, here's the deal. I don't know enough about Mr. Sparks to really comment. I've heard a lot of people like him, people I respect like him, think he's a decent enough guy. The big thing I've heard, just zero experience in prisons. And how did he go from zero experience to being the second highest guy up there? Again, Justin Ferris does have experience working in a prison, but it's and I don't hold that against him. I don't have I have about 2 years inside the prison, but I worked for him for about 18 or 19 years after that. So I had 20, 21 years total with the Department of Correction. And, you know,
Well,
so,
keep on with your deal.
well, Bob, here's another thing that kind of took, I kind of looked at saying, wow, ODC partners with Oklahoma agencies. So what Oklahoma agencies? And here's what's funny, Bob. I know they're partnering with some agencies that I would have listed that way more than I'd listed this. But Oklahoma Commission on Children and Youth to facilitate the Department's Justice Second Chance Act addressing the needs of incarcerated parents and their minor children grant. Okay. Now, here's what's funny. We're working on a grand jury right now. Guess who is the subject that we're trying to have investigated in that grand jury? One of the
One of his partners.
It's Oklahoma Commission on Children and Youth because we are alleging that they actually knew kids were being molested, that they actually knew the kids were being physically abused and did absolutely nothing at all. And if you want to go back 20 years and look at their history, guess what? We can show you 20 years ago, these same acts were occurring and nobody ever does anything. They get caught, they slap them on the hand, no charges, no nothing, and we go on down the road, and again happens, and again happens. Same people in charge. So that's who he's bragging about. So wow, they got about the same credibility, and their history looks like his history.
Hey, JJ, are you hearing anything about OCI on the next
I
visit he
always
has?
listen, man. As long as I can remember, there's been issues surrounded OCI about contracts. I turned in contracts. Um, when Director Crow was there, Director Crow called me up one time, and I had gotten hold of some stuff on no contracts. They didn't have contracts. They were terrible contracts on telecommunications. So they had people. They're having these inmates man these telecommunication centers. And again, what sparked it? You remember the inmate that I think that was at Joseph Hart, that they were letting go out, and he was going out there and he was getting on there and getting on child porn on these computers, and they
Yeah,
let him have
yeah,
full run of it.
hard.
That was so under that. That's what sparked this, and I had people calling me on that, and I got to checking. Well, they have all these contracts without. I mean, the contracts are a joke. So I turned that in. Guess what? And here's the problem. Where's the money going on these contracts? Who makes the contracts? Who's profiting? Do you have a track of all that? I turned it into law crickets. Bob, I turned in the canteen stuff on where they all go down to Biloxi. And all this was a lawsuit. You don't have to take my word. They got sued on this. It's all in court records. I don't go down there to law. Hey, you want to see it? Go down here to civil court and get the records. It's all in there. Guess what? Nothing. So I've turned in a lot of stuff that are hinky, questionable conduct, and we've not seen anything done on it. And again, to say we're partnering Oklahoma Department of Rehabilitation Services to provide books, textbooks, and other instructional material free to Oklahoma blind and visually impaired children through the AIM Center. Okay, not a problem with that. I'm all about helping, especially if it's inmate kids, and having a program for inmates to try to help those kids. But where's that money coming from? Is that money getting raised? Is that tax dollars? And guess what, Bob? You can't get an answer to any of this. And again, who's running that program? Bob, what I've learned, this is what I've learned with these corrupt individuals. So it looks like, oh, we're going to donate to these wonderful programs, to the YMCA or to this. And then you find out, okay, the person running that is their great friend. And oh, by the way, they're taking this money and then they're coming back over here and buying something that, you know what I'm saying? So we're giving them all this money, but they're going to turn around and use it with us again, or some group that we have a friend over here who owns that. You know, that's what we're talking about. It is so corrupt up there. It is unreal. And it's time that we start asking these questions. And that's why under HARP, under OMES, when he was at OMES, Bob, I believe there was more done to stop transparency and to start contracting with all kinds of individuals that we should never be in bed with. And then bam, he gets, like I say, things get a little hot at OMES. He gets snuck out the door. And Bob, before we get off, we're getting pretty close. I mean, we got about 15 minutes. I want to bring up something. This just remind me, but I want to bring up something. I think I called you on this the other day, see if I sparked, you know. But I was pulling up some stuff, and I got a memo that they had sent to me. And what it was talking about his raise. And he wrote a letter. And what I did, I wrote to the governor, the AG, and to every legislator saying, I want a copy of his $90,000 raise. I want to see where it was approved. I've been told by our House lawyers that only the board can approve it, legislators approve it, or the governor approve it. He writes me back in an email that says, and I think he answered it on that chain, this will be our only response. Here is the state statute. And
yeah, you voted for it.
Yeah, he names the bill, and he says that the governor will appoint, and it is up to you will serve at the governor's, and that we changed the.
Yeah, they didn't. He didn't answer the. They didn't answer the question. They're just giving you the bill.
They changed the criteria that you no longer have to have a degree or something, and that the governor will decide how much compensation. Okay, super. I just told him that. What I'm asking, where is the document where the governor increased the speakers, and yet he acts like I'm a moron. He writes in there, and you were the one who voted for this. You would think a legislator would know what he voted for. Well, hey, Director, listen to me, you dumbass. I know what I voted for. I voted for that. Yeah, I know it. I remember it. You want to talk about why? I can even tell you why we had that. Hey, you weren't around. So guess what? I do know that. But you didn't answer the question. You went off on some crazy, let me tell you what state statute. Well, you just confirmed, guess what? The governor does do it. How about getting me a document? Backdate, don't backdate it.
We must not have done it because they can't. It's what's been over a year now. You've been trying to get this. You can't get it. Well,
Bob,
JJ, didn't they do some other kind of double talk to you on something else? Can't remember now what it was.
disturbances, walkaways, you can name, they got a new word for everything. And that's what I'm saying. You can't go by this because how many rights do you have? None. Okay, but how many group disturbances? Oh, we had lots of group disturbances. How many escapes you have? Oh, very few. Yeah, but how many walkaways did you have? Oh, we had a whole bunch. We didn't report half of them. And Bob, here's what's funny. I have been called with inmates being as far as 6, 7 miles, even 8 miles away from the facility. They pick them up and don't even report. Now, Bob, if they were right across the road, if they walked across the road and you caught them and brought them back, okay, okay. But here's what's funny, Bob, they're letting them, I was told that these inmates are running and they're letting them walk anywhere off grounds. Now, used to, where I worked, if you went down there to the dog kennel, you were off grounds. If you went down there to the shooting range, you were way off. That's all down there kind of. Well, guess what? They say, hey, they just walk around wherever they want anymore, do whatever they want, openly do dope. Bob, how many videos have you watched of inmates putting out them doing dope? I mean, filming themselves laughing,
Beating up another inmate.
whooping other inmates. I mean, that's
I've been doing this 4 years, and only this past year have I started receiving inmates contacted with with issues, the problems they're having. They're scared, where they're running things. They're putting an inmate with a non-violent in there with a very violent inmate in the cell.
Bob, if you would have ever told me, and I think you've been there, I mean, I know I've told you about this. I think you've actually witnessed this. But if anybody doesn't believe me, hey, my assistant can back me up. She gets more calls than I do. She answers more calls. Inmates calling from prison. She takes most of the calls. She will vet them and see if I need to take them. Bob, I don't know how many. I've sat and talked 30, 40 minutes, one possibly an hour one time with an inmate, and it's multiple ones. It's multiple ones telling, hey, these rapes are going on. Hey,
yeah, but you can't top the one that called 911.
Can't talk. Well, yeah.
You can't top that. He wants help. Give me help.
Bob,
he dials the 911 call.
Bob, that one, and we had a rape, which they're going to get a lawsuit on, in which we had to get individuals in there to get so the inmate actually kept her panties, and so we had to send them in there to get the panties. So we had to do a panty raid on the prison. That has been something humorous to me, that I can get a call on rapes and stuff, and then have to go through those means to get it, film them, and they're setting up. Never happened. Oh, well, let's get this little film, and then I get threatened on that, and then we're going. Like I say, all of this stuff will come out, Bob. I mean, we are filing, just like this last deal that we had with the inmate and the death of that inmate, and it looks like that they kept him way past time. That's a civil rights violation. Guys, if you're involved in all this, man, get a hold of us. Become a whistleblower. It's time. It's way past time to try to take care of this stuff. And for him to come out and say this, you know what, Bob? You know who this is the biggest offense to? This right here, to me, if I was an employee of the Department of Corrections and my director put out a lie as big as this right here, I would be upset. I would be mad. Guys, it's time. We're going to start a new way for you to join so that we can avoid having you have to go through the department. And it's much easier to go through the department, but we understand why people would not want to do that. So as we start the new year, I hope you will consider joining OCP. I hope you will consider when we get this new method out for joining. We've been talking about it the last 3 weeks. We're going to try to get that done. But I hope you will consider joining because, again, otherwise you're going to let this clown.
Well, JJ, here's somebody making a comment about what you're saying. So please tell us what to do. We write, or contact who? Because the director needs to be removed and the rest of his morons under him. So
Here's what I want to tell you, guys. They took me out as correctional chairman, and they took the correctional committee out. Do you think I'm going to quit? If you think they're not personally after me, you're wrong. Guess what? I have joined OCP. I'm not just talking. I have joined OCP. They take a monthly amount out of my account. I've joined it because I'm committed to you. I'm committed as a former employee. I love the Department of Corrections. I love you, the employees of the Department of Corrections. That's why I fight. I am planning right now on filing. Hey, Director, if you listen up, I'm going to sue your butt if at all possible. And I think it's really possible. And I'm going to sue you in behalf of the employees. I'm going to use myself to sue you because you are in violation of the Open Records Act. And that is an act that you could go to jail on. Now, you got a lot of connections. Let's see if they keep you out. But I'm going to try to do my best to sue you for violating that. And guess what? We're doing it for these employees. But the employees, listen to me. We've got to join together. You got to get active. We want you active in OCP. We want you to show up. We want to do group grievances and group lawsuits and group things, but we can't do it. And we have no power unless we have the numbers. We need you. And again, I will tell you that Bob, you know what the director gets an A on that we didn't give him an A on the other day?
what was that? Lying?
Well, he gets an A on line. You forgot that one. You got that one. We're giving you A's today, Director, for being deceitful and lying. But I will tell you, trying to destroy OCP, he gets an A on that one. I will tell you, he gets an A for trying to remove the association. And why do you think he did that, Bob?
He doesn't want anybody looking over his shoulders. What he told me, I don't need you. But here's the thing: it, it's he just doesn't want transparency. He wants to be able to do and violate every rule, every policy. He wants to do his way, and that's the only way he's going to do it.
Well, he knows also that the ones who know the truth are you, the employee. You employees know the truth. Now, one of the best things that I can tell you, the past director and this director, what makes them mad as anything is that me and Bob actually have a pulse on what's going on. You know how we know that? Because we talk to you and we get the truth from you. We got to be able to verify that, and we need you to become active. And we need more information. We need more ways to verify it. We're not going to put you in danger. That's why we're wanting to start where you can join without them knowing. But here's the deal. We need your help getting more information, getting these murders, getting these rapes, getting the information out and verifying them and holding him accountable. And until we get a strong association, and when we get a strong association, we will be strong at the Capitol building. And again, right now, he's strong at the Capitol building because he's in tight with the governor and he's got all these upper echelons in tight with him. If we had a strong association, guess what? They'd be paying attention to us. I want to encourage you, join OCP, help us become strong, help us get this association up and running the way it used to. And again, let's participate. Let's become officers and take a part in getting the department back and holding this sucker accountable. And we're not going. We're still fighting. We're still here. Hey, we got some bruises. And I'm going to tell you, Bob, I don't know about you, but there's been times that I've been tempted to throw in the towel, you know.
I know. But hey, I appreciate you being here today and looking forward to next Friday. And I guess, these murders are they're just going to keep on.
until we stop it.
All the drugs in there.
OCP. Join OCP. We'll get the information out. We're going to start putting it on this webpage, how to join.